It's 1077 The Bone, Baby Huey here, and joining me right now is someone I've been a fan of for many years. You know him from WWE, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, Access TV, and his comedy special, Jonny Loquasto, Physical Therapy. It's Jonny Loquasto. How's it going, man?
And I of you, sir. I am a fan. I am a friend. We're about to have some fun here on the bone. What's going on, everybody?
I'm doing awesome, man. Like I said, I'm super happy to finally be talking to you. And literally, it's true. I've been a fan for you for many years. Going back to DC movie news, I was a huge fan of your show. From there, obviously WWE. We'll get into all that stuff, but let's get all the business out of the way. You're performing. I think you're the first guest that I can say this. You're performing in my hometown of Alameda at the Alameda Comedy Club. You got two shows this Friday at 7 and 9 p.m. Also Saturday, 7 and 9 p.m. Just go to alamedacomedy.com. Also can go to your website, quasto.com. And yeah, so dude, like I said, a big fan. And I gotta admit, the first time I met you was pre-pandemic. You stopped by our radio station. You're doing another interview, and I remember seeing you, and I was like, oh my God, Jonny, what are you doing here? And I think I kind of fanboyed out and went up to you. I don't know if you remember that day.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the hell I was doing up there. Was I with Brad Williams, or was I by myself?
No, you're with
Rachel
what's her name?
Feinstein.
Yeah, I think it was at the Punchline. Yeah.
We did the Punchline, and then we went around and hung out with the fire station because, you know, her husband is a captain in the FDNY, and so he's got connections everywhere. So they took us around the town in the fire truck and all. And Rachel's one of the greatest humans comics. She's awesome.
Yeah, it's so no, when saw you, I was like, oh my God, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of DC movie news. Also, just like the whole like YouTube explosion of all these amazing shows that really in the last 5-10 years that were thriving on YouTube between AfterBuzz, Popcorn Network, Collider, all these different YouTube channels. And so you're definitely just one of my favorite personalities from there. So like I said, when I saw you in person, I was like, oh dude, that's awesome. And like I know you were busy that day, but I wanted to geek out with just talking about like movies and DC and all that stuff. But I was just always kind of curious, that time period. What was it like to really be part of like a YouTube show? And like, I really felt like that was the foundation to like, I feel like everyone has like a YouTube show now, but at the time, was it kind of, you felt like you're like starting like this new trend?
Well, I mean, AfterBuzz had already been going for years, and of course, AfterBuzz was started by Maria Menounos and her husband Kevin Undergaro, and so they gave a lot of young, up-and-coming hosts an opportunity to essentially practice on the fly in a way, like to learn how to become hosts in front of the camera. When it came to DC movie news, that was a whole different thing that we actually got put together essentially by Christian Harloff. He came to me and he said, hey, I want you to host a show. I said, dude, I'm not an expert on comics. I'm not an expert on DC. Like, I like the stuff, but I'm by no means, really diving deep in. He said, that's perfect. He's like, we need a voice like yours. And plus, you know how to host. You're going to drive the traffic. I was like, all right, cool. Because we had Kalinowski, who's the expert. We had Adam Gertler, who's the expert. And we had Roxy Stryer, who's super passionate and was obviously learning a lot too. And, we really, we all just hit it off right from the start. Didn't know what would come out of it. And we did gain a really nice following. And we did it for the love. Like, people thought we were getting paid. We never made a dime off that show. We were just doing it because we love to hang out together every week. We love to have a passion for stuff. We got to do some cool things together. And, a lot of people are bummed that the show is no more, but we still do get together every now and then. Anytime there's a big movie release, we'll hop on a live stream. Roxy will put it out on her YouTube. And so we all stay in contact. We're still in a group text together.
Awesome. Well, I'm guessing for you guys, you probably, I would assume maybe have an episode talking about Black Adam and The Rock. Is that on the horizon at all? I figure like that's kind of like the next big superhero movie and, DC related.
Oh, yeah. Once that movie comes out, trust me, if Dwayne Johnson's doing anything, I'm talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember so many years back when there was the inkling, there was the clue from The Rock that there might be a Black Adam. I mean, we're going 5 years ago, I think, at this point. So, yeah, of course, when that movie drops, we're going to make sure we do a live stream about it. And I've been a massive fan, as you have, of The Rock for decades. And I'm an even bigger fan of him as a human being, possibly, which is hard to do because he's honestly probably the most liked person in the world. I think you could argue he might be the most enjoyed and liked person in the world. I'd vote for him. Whatever he's running for, I'd vote for him.
Yeah, me too, absolutely. And for fans of Young Rock, I know that's a TV show, but they do hint at he's running for something. So I wonder
Yeah,
if you ever would actually do that. I think he would probably win in a landslide. I would imagine so.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, dude, people voted Schwarzenegger in because he was beloved. The Rock, I'd hate to be his opponents because they would get the smacketh down. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So, Johnny, like I said, so much to talk about with you. Like I said, big fan. I do want to encourage also all the listeners out there, check out your comedy special, Physical Therapy.
Yes.
It's out now. You can go to your website, quastospecial.com. It's free to watch through there.
But come see me this weekend first.
Yes.
Then watch my special. Come see
Yes.
me at the Alameda Comedy Club. We got 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 7 p.m., 9 p.m. both nights. It's a really intimate club. I believe it only seats about 100 people. So it's going to be like a really fancy living room that you're hanging out in. So those are my favorite kind of clubs. Support local comedy clubs. This is not a branch off a conglomerate club. This is not a massive chain. This is a guy that I met early on in my comedy career in Orange County who opened this comedy club. And I reached out to him and he said, yeah, come in for a weekend. These are the kind of comedy clubs we need to support. They're the kind of comedy clubs we need to help survive. Because the trend of comedy clubs becoming 500, 600 theaters, yeah, that's happening. And sure, that could be good in a lot of ways. But it's the small mom and pop comedy clubs that we need to keep going. We need to support. So if you are within earshot of me, bring yourself out this weekend.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said about that. I mean, I live literally 5 minutes from the club. I can like walk over there. So I will definitely be coming out this weekend. But I got to tell you, I don't know if I told you this yet. That venue is very dear to my heart and my family. Fun fact, when my parents got married, they had their wedding reception there. So literally,
Wait a minute. I'm going to be on stage where your mom and dad celebrated their nuptials?
yeah. So after they got married in the church and stuff, the after party was there. I mean, it's been different businesses over the years. So, but yeah, back in the day, that's where my parents had their wedding reception. So I got to bring my dad out. So I think
Yes.
I have my dad come with me this weekend, and we can reminisce about. Like,
I can confirm that we will talk about this while I'm on stage. That is going to be gold. Are you kidding me? Yes. Bring your dad. We're going to reminisce. We're going to talk all about it. Oh,
Well, it's great too. Like literally, like next door is my doctor's office. I had my physical there last week, so like that whole I love like living. I lived in Alameda my whole life.
I'm not going to ask you to turn and cough. That's
No,
not gonna,
please don't, please don't. But I love that there's a comedy club in my hometown. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. They opened within the last couple years, and it from the photos I've seen, it looks gorgeous, and the whole setup. So like I said, I can't wait to go and see you perform there. But as I mentioned earlier, your special Physical Therapy, I did not know that you were a physical therapist for many years. So I just want to know how'd you fall into that and then get into the world of comedy?
Man, it's been a weird life. So I was raised by nurses. My mom and dad, both nurses, raised in a healthcare household. And, when you're in high school, it's so weird. Like our society's so strange. They expect you to kind of figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life by the time you're 17 and a half. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. So, my mom was like, well, you don't want to be a nurse, do you? I'm like, nah, probably not. She's like, well, do you like sports? I said, of course I love sports. Sports was my life. She's like, well, maybe think about trying physical therapy. So I volunteered at a local clinic. And honest to God, my choice was just, I go, all right, yeah, I'll put that as my major. And so we had to look at schools that had physical therapy programs at the time. And there were only a couple in Pennsylvania that I was interested in where I lived. And so got accepted, chose one. And honestly, it wasn't until even my 3rd year in college that I really became like surely interested in physical therapy. Like, oh, I get it. This is cool. I'm going to really enjoy this. So I graduated, worked as a PT. I had the dream of moving out to California. Me and a couple of buddies from high school did that. And I always had a love for entertainment and making people laugh. I grew up as a fat kid, so I had to have a sense of humor, which Huey, I know you get that. So I got to this point where typical story, I went through a really bad breakup that was long distance after I moved. I was miserable, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start comedy. And I Googled or whatever the heck you did back in 2005, I think Google was a thing. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I tried to find stand-up comedy classes, and I found one in Orange County at the Irvine Improv. I took a 6-week class, and then after that, you're on your own. Most people fall to the wayside or they quit, and I was too stubborn to quit. I just kept on going. That was, like I said, 17 years ago now, and that's, stand-up led to hosting. Hosting led to my first gig in wrestling, and that led to everything else I've done in combat sports. So it's all one of those. I never forget where anything started because I'm always grateful for those moments,
Yeah, that's very cool. And it's cool that, you did something, with school for, but you ultimately follow your passion and stuff. So I do really respect that. But I'm guessing that line of work, though, you probably met a lot of just interesting characters, right? And just, variety of people coming in for whatever, illness they're getting treated and stuff. But I mean, I'm sure for you, it must have been a great source of material for ultimately what you did on stage.
Oh, I got plenty of stories that I tell in my special, that I tell on stage. Even the opening to my special, which I'm not going to give it away, there's a little scenario that happens. I have a 4-minute opening that if anyone watches my special, they kind of learn who I am before I ever hit the stage. And, against modern day metrics, that's apparently against the rules because I remember I was talking to a friend at Netflix and he goes, well, our algorithm numbers show that if the person is not hitting the stage in the first 20 seconds of a special, people tune out. I'm like, cool. I don't want those people. Like, that's fine. I'm putting my intro in there. I want it to be a fun sketch. And there's a moment where I have with a patient that is stemmed from something that actually did happen. It may not have been that extreme as what you see in the special, but there was a thing where I had this lady who was completely confused about what was what. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, gotcha. No, I watch your special. I know you're referring to. So yeah,
yes.
Please. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the other thing, though, as you just mentioned, you said you were a fat kid growing up, which I'm shocked by. I've seen you in person, obviously on TV and YouTube, all that stuff. You're in amazing shape. Like, how'd you make that transition to be super fit now?
I'm trying to get super fit, but man, I was like a $165 when I was 11. So it's one of those things where I was doing shows in Virginia, and my one of his best friends from childhood came out, and he's older than me. And I remember we were having dinner, and I said, you were why so big when I was little? He's like, dude, you were eating every time I saw you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, now I understand. And so it was one of those things. Once I got to college, it's my freshman year, I said to myself, well, I'm going to be a physical therapist. I don't want to be an out-of-shape physical therapist. No one's going to listen to me. And so I started hitting the gym really hard. I remember one semester I did like a crazy calorie cut, which was not healthy, but a 19-year-old brain, I was like, yeah, this will work. And it actually did. I think I dropped from like 208 to 172 over a period of 4 months. And then from there, it's just been kind of a trying to figure out life process. And then this year, I actually paid for nutrition and fitness coaching. And I had no idea I was up to 218. And I went from 218 down to about 190 while maintaining my old man strength. And so I'm trying to just keep that going.
Wow, that's amazing. Which I'm guessing, like, for me, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", 3 bills. But, so I know what it's like, to be a heavy-set person and whatnot. So I'm sure for you, as a fat kid growing up, I'm sure that experience also played into, your comedy and stuff. Because I always felt like, for me as a big guy, even working in radio, I've always feel like I'm always trying to take the attention away from me and trying to make jokes. And, people like to make jokes at me. And I'm always trying to quick with the comeback and stuff. So I'm sure for you, being a fat kid, it's probably, in many ways motivate or give you inspiration for your comedy routine.
Oh yeah, it's all deflection. When you're overweight, especially as a child, because back in the 90s, bullying was cool. Like there was nobody was coming down on bullying back in the 90s. You could say whatever you want to any other kid, and I got the brunt of it. I remember, I don't even talk about this on stage. I remember I was a competitive swimmer when I was a little kid, and I did it all the way up until I was 11, and I was huge at 11 years old. So I remember one of my buddies and his mom said, hey, we're going to go to the public pool today. It was like a hot summer day. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. I had no idea there was such a thing as regular swim trunks. All I had were Speedos. That's all I knew. So I was like, all right. So I wore a black Speedo as a 165-pound 11-year-old to the pool. And I remember I didn't think anything of it. I got my Speedo in, I'm walking towards the pool, and it's almost like that scene in Deuce Bigalow where like you hear those random voices yelling. I heard someone go, "Hey kid, nice underwears." I was like, are you a 1920s mobster? Like that's where the voice sounded like to me. And then I remember right when I was about to jump in, I hear another kid yell out, "Look out, Shamu's coming in." And then I realized, oh, they're talking about me. Oh, man. And then if you look back on our swim team photos, I was not ready for a Speedo. It was rough. It was rough. And so, you figure out how to deflect. You have to develop a sense of humor. And also in Living Color, the TV show came out right at the time when I was gaining a lot of weight, and I'd never seen anything like it on TV. It's still my favorite show of all time. I think it always will be. And that just warped my sense of humor. I still credit In Living Color. If it wasn't for that show, I don't think I ever would have had the courage to even try stand-up, which people think is crazy because it's a sketch show. But it's just, to me, it's so much more than that. And, I still, credit that show for so much for everything it's done.
Absolutely. Now, I'm guessing we're around the same age because I'm with you. In Living Color, growing up watching that show was, I know SNL was a thing that already was well established, but In Living Color was like the fresh, TV show, and it felt like it was our generation's, sketch comedy show to gravitate towards and get, be a part of, and obviously all the big names that came from there. But no, I'm with you. Just how influential that show was. Just
if you think about it, what other show has developed that many superstars? Now, the whole show, the whole cast has gone on to have successful careers. Everyone's been fine for the most part. But I don't know any other show, and you can't count SNL because that's been running forever. Any other show that's had a 5-year or less run, what show has had that many superstars come from it? I would argue no one besides In Living Color, if you really think about it.
And you can even make the argument the biggest person that ever come from that show was a dancer, J-Lo, if you want to make...
That's the crazy thing about it. Like, you talk about Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx. They are generational superstars. We're not just talking massive... No, Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx. Yeah. Jamie Foxx might be the most talented person in the world. The guy can do... I mean, on top of it, do you see his Trump impression? It's perfect. Like, everything he does is great. And then, by the way, one of the dancers was Jennifer Lopez. Are you kidding me? Come on now.
Absolutely. And just the whole Wayans family. I mean, I remember the first time I met Tommy Davidson when he came by our studio, I geeked out so hard because I would like turn like 10-year-olds again and be like, oh my God, Tommy Davidson. And like, I'm just thinking of him in the diner and like, as the chef, bring it up in the bell. And obviously, Jim Carrey, Fire Marshal Bill, and just all,
And my hero is David Alan Grier. He was the glue that held the show together. He's, my favorite. If I had to pick a favorite like person in entertainment, it's always been Dag, and I've gotten to do a couple of weekends with him. And you talk about trying not to lose your mind. Are you kidding me? And you just look at the career he's had. So, I mean, I can't say enough about that. I'm reading a book about it right now. It's like a 400-page book from start to finish about, creation to the end. And I'm riveted by it. I'm not a reader. Let's just put that. I don't care. I don't read a lot. Yeah. This book has me glued to it. It's incredible.
Nice. Well, speaking of you specifically and just, your years of entertainment, hosting, all that stuff, I would love to ask about, your time in wrestling, just because we actually know a lot of, mutual people in the business stuff. So I'm curious, what came first, comedy or wrestling for yourself? Which one did you get started going with first?
I mean, I was... As a kid, wrestling was first. I mean, I started watching wrestling when I was probably like 5 years old. I remember I was so young when I went to my first event at the Allentown Fairgrounds. So wrestling was always my first love, followed by sports. And then as a very young kid, like I said, I became obsessed with comedy. So as far as professionally, I started doing stand-up about 5 years before I had my first opportunity in wrestling. Because, it's easier to find a way in comedy than it is to find a way in wrestling. You know what I mean? And so I'm very fortunate. I owe a lot to David Marquez because he gave me my first shot. And by the time I went to WWE, there wasn't anything I didn't do with a microphone in professional wrestling. And that's one of the reasons they hired me. I was told by my boss. He said, usually we would audition people, but I've seen what you do. We need a utility guy who can do everything. I know you can do everything. And for the 1 year that I was there before the pandemic, took away a lot of jobs, I did everything I could with that microphone, and I was, grateful for every second of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen you in action before, obviously on TV, but at live events as well, and NXT and whatnot. So, um, in your time in comedy, does that help you? Obviously, in the wrestling world, I would imagine, either being a host or whatever persona you present. But I'm guessing the comedy really helped you just get ready for being in front of the camera in the wrestling world.
Well, the good thing about that is comedy teaches you how to be in the moment. It teaches you how to riff. It teaches you how to be comfortable with anything that happens. Because, look, wrestling, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, yes, predetermined, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, wrestling is at its best when the wrestlers are comfortable being who they are. And with what I did, whether it be play-by-play or interviews or ring announcing, you don't know what's going to happen. You just have to be in the moment, and you got to play it real. And that's one thing that I think I've always been able to do really well, is because on top of it, I spent way too much money on many years of acting classes in LA. And I still, in my opinion, in wrestling, I think every play-by-play guy needs to at least take an improv class or some kind of acting class. Because yes, play-by-play is a very difficult job for any sport. I do it for boxing. I do it for MMA as well. But it's even harder for wrestling because on top of everything, you have to drive traffic. You have to talk about storylines. You have to do all type. You also have to be a good actor. And not enough play-by-play guys have any idea what that means, in my opinion.
Exactly. So, okay. God, there's so much of like the wrestling world I want to get into with you. So, a couple like quick questions I want to ask you. Okay, who's your all-time favorite wrestler? All-time favorite match, and is there a wrestling bucket list that you have, like something you want to do either in wrestling or experience, or for example, like I'll start with myself. Like for me, I always want to go to Tokyo in Japan and see a Wrestle Kingdom live in person at the Tokyo Dome. So
Sure.
So three rapid fire questions. Like, yeah, first off, who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Oh man, I would say it's hard to say one because I like elements of so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
As far as who really pulled me in verbally as a kid, and to this day, I still think he had some of the greatest mic skills in the history of the business, and that would be Jake the Snake Roberts. I mean, he was
Yeah.
in an era where everybody was screaming. All he had to do was whisper like this, man, and you were listening to him because whatever he said was going to be really intelligent. It could be evil, it could be devious, and you were going to believe it, man. Like that was crazy to me. But like, who made you feel with all your heart and soul? I mean, Dusty Rhodes. Like there were, God, you go back and watch not just the Hard Times promo, but everything else that he did with his career. He knew how to make the people love him. And one of the reasons NXT was so successful in helping so many careers is because he was there. He was working with so many of today's stars. And so, unfortunately, he passed before I got a chance to work there. But I remember the first day when I walked in there, I remember saying to myself, I'm like, oh my God, Dusty Rhodes was here. Like he laid the groundwork for, with a lot of other people, but he helped lay the groundwork for what I'm doing here, and there's still little things throughout the performance center paying homage to Dusty Rhodes. And to me, that was just incredible to me. As far as favorite match, that's also, oh my God, that is impossible for me to say. I mean, just anything I got to call for WWE became my favorite match because I was so engrossed in it. And it was so overwhelming to be like, I can't believe I'm sitting at this table right now. I can't believe I'm in this arena. I can't believe I'm in front of these people. Like, so every one of those instantly became my favorite match. But I mean, you go over the course of time, Jesus, I can't even say one, to be honest with you, because there are so many great ones. There's not one that really sticks out to me as, oh, that's my all-time favorite. Like, there's a couple as a little kid that drew me in, of course, but there's been so many great ones ever since.
Yeah, and I know, no, you're right. It's so tough to narrow it down. But is there anything in wrestling you want to do, or bucket list item you would love to try to? I mean, obviously working in WWE, that's an amazing achievement in your own career. Is there anything else you would like to do, like a bucket list item?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad I got to do everything I did. To me, I still think there's a lot of unfinished business, but unfortunately, look, none of us knew the pandemic was going to happen. We cannot control that. Unfortunately, a lot of good people lost their jobs who didn't deserve to lose their jobs, myself included. And so, yeah, I mean, I was on track to maybe do something at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So, of course, I'd be lying if I was like, yeah, I have no interest. Yeah, of course, it'd be great to do that again. But at this point, I'm so grateful for everything I've done. I just want to be able to keep traveling in combat sports, whether it's wrestling, whether it's MMA, whether it's boxing. I mean, I'm calling for Titan FC now, Titan Fighting Championships on UFC Fight Pass. I'm working with Undisputed Promotions that always has pay-per-views on Fight TV. And so for me, I want to travel as much as possible. If wrestling can bring me internationally, because I can wear every hat. You bring me overseas, anything you need with a microphone and backstage, I'm able to do that. I can do the job of 4 people, especially for an international show that maybe has a smaller team. So for me, I try to enjoy every moment. So I don't really have I have absolutely no regrets. And right now, I just want to keep pushing forward. I have a new role in the United Wrestling Network. I'm not doing play-by-play there anymore. I came back, and now I'm essentially the person in charge. I'm the representative of the committee. I'm trying to keep order. I'm making matches, and this is something I've never done in the business. So this is just another check mark for me, bucket list stuff. So United Wrestling Network, you can watch Championship Wrestling every single week on YouTube, on Fight TV, or check your local listings because it does air all throughout the country.
Yeah, well, by the way, I haven't had a chance to tell you this. So one of my best friends is James Kincaid.
Oh, nice. Oh, Jimmy.
So for Jimbo, I still call him Jimbo. So I would love for you, I'll have to send this to him. I would love for you on screen, punish Jimbo somehow. Please.
Well, unfortunately.
Please punish him.
This has not aired yet. But unfortunately, someone else got to him. I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, I should text him right now.
You're going to see it on an upcoming episode. Someone got to him. And unfortunately, I have to possibly reprimand this person who did what they should not have done to old Jimbo. So... But would I like to steal one of his rings from the Warriors? Yes, of course. Of course I would.
Yes. Oh, does he wear them at every broadcast?
Of course he does.
Oh, my God. Okay.
I would, too. Are you kidding me?
Dude, he wears those. I tell him all the time. I'm like, dude, why? Why are you wearing a Warriors ring to a wrestling event? Why?
I would wear all 4. I'd put them on my toes and wear flip-flops. Are you kidding me? If I had 4 rings with a championship team, they're going everywhere. I'll turn them into earrings. I don't even care.
I tell him that. I'm like, dude, really? Because, like, you know, I'm super close with him. I'll call him out on all that stuff. I'm like, dude, really? And he's like, every photo he has to point with with the show. And I'm like, really?
He looks kind of like a 70s car dealer. That's a fact. We know this. He does. He kind of looks like, hey, I can get you into a new Corolla. What do you say? Huh? What do you say? So.
Well, the other day, I know I'm going off on a tangent on Jimbo now. He's going to love this. But the other day, he had an outfit, a suit on. He was calling another wrestling show, but he looked like a multi-millionaire train tycoon. Like,
no, I asked him. I said, hey, who's your suit guy? He's like, oh, the Warriors got this guy who comes in from overseas, and he comes like once a month to Northern California. I was like, is he around the weekend of September 30th? I could use a new suit. I don't know. I haven't heard. But no, I want to, whoever his suit guy is, man, I want that. Come on,
actually, yeah. Besides my dad, I should ask Jimbo to come with me to the shows this weekend.
Yeah, I told him about it. But yes, please let him know. For sure.
I will tell him about that. But,
there's going to be some wrestling buddies coming out this weekend.
Awesome. No, that's the thing is I love about your special. You defend wrestling so much, and for me, I'm a big wrestling fan. Even, you know, I'm wearing my Outsiders shirt right now. You can see on the screen here.
I do.
But you know, it's tough. Like at work, you know, there are some people, some coworkers, and that are friends of mine. We geek out, talk wrestling, water cooler talk every single week. And then I got coworkers who like to hate on it, make fun of me, and I'm like, really, man? But I said, when I was watching your special, you do defend wrestling. Obviously, you worked in it. You're a fan. But, yo, please, to the haters out there, please explain why wrestling is such an amazing sport in general, just to be a fan of.
It's real simple. Professional wrestling is the greatest form of live entertainment when it's done right, because it's the only thing that has the element of every possible form of entertainment, even more so than the NFL, even more so than the NBA. Look, I'm a massive fan of all that stuff. But when professional wrestling is done well and it's done right, I don't care who you are, it will suck you in. And speaking of that joke that I have in my special, I have expanded it. I'm actually going to be posting a section of it pretty soon on social media.
Okay.
That I think is going to do quite well. I just haven't decided on the day yet. But
okay.
Yeah, it truly is. It's look, I love calling anything I can call, I'm in it. But professional wrestling is absolutely my first love, and I would still love to be doing as much as possible in wrestling. So that's
Well,
the goal.
and you mentioned, obviously you call 205 Live and other WWE events. You know, I just thought of this. When you're sitting at the desk, was Vince McMahon personally in your ear, like all the other commentators have talked about, or? Like,
No, I'm going to be honest. He didn't care enough about 205 Live to still be sitting and watching that show. No, I'm going to leave it at that. No, 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 no.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
Which I was very happy with. That's okay.
Did you ever get to meet Vince McMahon much, or talk, or interact with him much at all? I'm just kind of curious.
We made eye contact one time, and basically exchanged pleasantries. It was one of those things where it was post-pandemic. There was, when everything moved to Orlando and we were doing the empty arena, no audience shows. I was there for 205 Live, and obviously it was a SmackDown day, and it was just one of those things where I was hanging out. There wasn't a lot of space. It's not like the arena has everything. The PC was really tight quarters. And so I was just standing there with a couple of referees just kind of talking because, I was done for the day, but I always stayed till the end because, I wanted to make sure I was professional about it. And around the corner, him and a couple other people came out, and he just so happened to lock eyes with me, and he goes, "Good night." I said, "Take care." And after he walked away, I was like, nailed it. Like I didn't choke. I didn't stumble. I said it confidently. And yes, that was my one interaction.
Awesome, man. There's a lot of people who wish they can have some sort of interaction with him. But, speaking of WWE, in your time in NXT, and, Triple H is now in charge. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on some of the current state of wrestling. So your thoughts on Triple H now, like head of creative for WWE.
I mean, from what my friends have told me who have been rehired, it's a completely different environment, and they are very happy. I don't watch as closely as I used to because for me, it's like I'm watching whatever's paying me. Right now, I have more going on with MMA, with boxing, and in my voiceover and comedy career. I'm trying to stay on top of things, of course. You give me an event to call, I'm going to make sure I'm more than prepared. But from what I see, it's obviously taken a turn for the better. And like I said, a lot of good people should never have lost their jobs, and some of them have been fortunate enough to get their jobs back, and I'm so happy for every single one of them. And from what I've been told, it's definitely a much more fun environment, and that's coming out in the product. I mean, people are a lot happier with what they're watching, and that's what it's all about,
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Like you see people being come back, and it just seems like a breath of fresh air watching WWE lately, and just like a lot of the positive buzz that they've been generating lately. It's been really exciting, and then Triple H bringing back certain people. It's exciting just to see what's going to happen in the near future, just where these storylines are going to go, and even AEW. Just they had a lot of injuries over the summer, so the quality of the show was up and down. But now it seems like AEW is kind of back on track now. So it just overall wrestling is just awesome right now. I mean, I can't stress that enough. It's just how amazing everything is. There's so much out there to take in and watch.
Yeah.
United Wrestling Network, like it's awesome.
There's so much good talent out there, and that people sleep on United Wrestling Network. Our television product is really good. I mean, it's up there with some of the best in the business. And so people just need to find it. I know we get good ratings throughout the country, but it's like I said, watch it for free on YouTube, on Fight TV. And there's a lot of young up and coming talent. And that's what United's always been about. It's giving a showcase to people who are going to move on and do even more. And then, of course, we have a lot of stars who come back. They come in as a special guest, or they come in regularly, things like that. But yeah, there's just so much talent out there. I mean, I was lucky enough to call a pay-per-view called the Wrestling Showcase during All Out weekend for AEW. And it was an 8-man tournament. The talent in this tournament was just insane. I mean, it was Matt Cardona, John Hennigan, Rich Swann, Brian Myers was a part of it. There was a triple threat between Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, and Taya Valkyrie. I'm trying to think of who else. Moose was in the tournament. My God, you have all this amazing talent, top-notch talent who are there, and I'm grateful I got to call the whole event. And so there's just so much out there, and the most important thing is fan supporting and support live entertainment, whether it's wrestling, whether it's sports, and this weekend, most importantly, stand-up comedy. Support those tiny comedy clubs, man. Alameda Comedy Club. Get your, I don't want to say Get yourselves out there. There it is. Get yourself.
Come on out there. Join me. Let's have a drink together out there. Jonny, listen, if you couldn't tell, right, I can talk wrestling all day with you.
I know we probably alienated all your fans right now. I apologize for that.
Everyone in the Bay Area knows how much I love wrestling, so it's totally fine. But on that note, yes, I encourage everyone, get your tickets, AlamedaComedy.com. Get your tickets. Go see Jonny. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows this Saturday. Also, go to your website, Quasto.com. Follow you on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well.
And the TikTok. I'm doing it.
TikTok. Oh.
Yeah, Jay Quasto, JQUASTO on all social media platforms, and I've kind of figured out TikTok a little bit. It's going okay.
Actually, funny story. I was talking to a coworker today. I was like, I think I'm gonna finally download TikTok and sign up for it. So I'm super late to the game on that.
That's okay.
One.
That's
so
okay.
I'm gonna learn how to do all the reels and all that stuff. I gotta learn how to. Try my best at all that. But no, thank you so much for making the time today. I really do appreciate it. And looking forward to catching up with you in person this weekend. So thank you.
I'm grateful, buddy. And yes, we will definitely catch up. Looking forward to it. And thank you to anyone who watched this and who might come out this weekend. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.